Hello, hello, this is Rex Red. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another Daz tutorial. And this is kind of going to be a strange tutorial. I'm going to do probably very little work in Daz Studio. Say hi, Sigmund. Hi. Oh, that was nice. So that was Sigmund. Yes, he's got to always be part. Oh, okay. I know, Hector. I know. Hector's got to say hi too. Hello. Oh, that was nice, Hector. All right. Now that that's underway and my little buddies, they keep me company while I do my tutorials here. Okay. If you haven't noticed by the title of this video, it's called Learning Fluidose for Daz Studio Part 1. And this is actually going to be Fluidose 2. So we can put a 2 in there. Learning Fluidose 2, II, for Daz Studio Part 1. Okay. What is Fluidose? Well, I don't know a lot about it exactly because I'm trying to learn it myself. But it's an animation physics creation script program app plugin that works with Daz Studio, okay? Now we are looking, if you do a search in the Daz store, okay, for Fluidose 2, Fluidos 2, you will notice, now I have to turn on, I'm not sure why my Samsung turned off. Tablet. Not sure why it turned off. Hello, hello. Come back, Samsung tablet. Hope I didn't burn it out or something. Come back, Samsung tablet. All right. Well, that's not working for some reason. Okay. Let's just set it down there. Okay. So it is a physics type of program. That means you can make like a campfire that animates so that it actually moves and all. You can make clouds that move. You can make water that moves. You can make water that pours into like a lake. And the water doesn't just like pour and kind of go. It actually becomes part of the lake. It flows into the lake. Kind of things like that. There's fire. I mentioned fire, smoke, okay, and fog and haze and things like that. So, and it moves, okay, but you can also make a fire and then capture a certain frame of it so that you have so that you can use it as an image or something, as a model in your Daz. So we're looking at the Daz store right now. I thought I'd start you from the beginning, and this is what you want to buy, and this is Fluidos Studio. So Fluidos costs, I think, over $100, around $100, over $100, like $125. So you want to buy it when it's on sale, and guess what? It's on sale right now. I know. I think I paid maybe about $40 or $50 for Fluidos because I waited until it was on a huge sale. Normally it's $119.95, okay? And that's if you catch it when it's not on sale. And these are some of the things you can do with Fluidos. And some of these animations, I mean, this looks pretty cool, but some of these animations were done a while. Fluidose has been out for a little while, and they were maybe not done on the fastest computers in the world. So I'm not sure why this is in Fluidose here, whether if it's something to do with the texture or, oh, you can see he's got perspiration on his skin, on his face. This perspiration can actually drip down and stuff, so it's animatable. This is water. Okay, I don't see any other reason why this would be here, but this is Fluidose water. And it would actually move, and you can see the water is actually over top. It's aware of the shape of the alligator, okay? So, and it looks almost like a jelly. So you can change that stuff and all. And then we have these meshes, and this is, I think that says particles, and fluid mesh, and fluid mesh, and particles. So I think that I'm going to find, after working with Fluidose, that it's limited in some ways, and I believe that sometime soon, maybe in the next few months or so, maybe in the next year, that Fluidose will have an upgrade to it. And I don't know if it will be Fluidose 3 or if it will just be Fluidose Plus or something like that. But now you can see where the water is coming down and landing on the table and spilling out. So this is smoke, okay, that's created in Fluidose. You can see the little particles of the smoke. And this is another where it's filling up a volume. And I believe what we might be looking at is where this is like oil and that's water. And this may be even another volume in here. So it's pouring into through one fluid, through another, but into here, because this is the heaviest of the fluids, and then this is oil, and maybe this is maybe this is a gel of some sort, and then this is oil up here. I'm not sure exactly, but you can see where there are different liquids here with different it's not viscosity, but yeah, and maybe it is viscosity. I don't know a lot about this yet. Now, this is obviously a giant particle field, so that's another interesting thing that you can do with Fluidose. This is like a very interesting part of Fluidose right here to me, okay? So it's all extremely interesting, but this is a fluid mesh. And now this would be a particle field. So this is particles. And then where this is an actual mesh, that kind of is here. And then these are particles again. So now we have water, the waves, the foam on the waves. And these are particles as well, and meshes. I'm not sure exactly how this is all working. Then we have another kind of thing here, smoke, okay, and we have fire, and we have more fire, different examples of fire, particle fire, and residual smoke. And so this is at the top of the fire. It creates, you can add, just like the water, where there's different levels of viscosity, and I'm not sure if viscosity is the right word, different thickness to the water. Well, this smoke would, after it reaches a certain thickness or a certain height or a certain temperature where it's not quite as hot, then it becomes a smoke. So this is another aspect of this. And then we're back to, I believe, the first or the last to this. Yes. So, and then we would see the dragon again. So this is this is Alvin Bemar. I hope I didn't butcher his name, who is the artist who created Fluidose. I've spoken with him a few times. Not spoken with him. I've chatted with him on YouTube, and he has videos showing how some of the Fluidose models are how you work with some of them. And we've got explosions, dry ice. Okay, these are examples in Fluidose, stabilization, scenes. So we have a bunch of scenes that we can auto-load. And then we have 3Delight and Iray textures, shaders. And that's where you can put these shaders on, and I'm sure you can edit them to some degree and change the colors and all to the shaders, the shine and diffuse, things like that. And then we have some scripts here which change the resolution of the whatever it is you're working on. So this is Fluidose. So it's an extremely powerful, and as you can see, this water is dripping down over the words and landing on like a piece of glass or chrome or something like that. And this is a really beautiful piece of artwork right here. This is the exact kind of artwork that I love to do, other than when I'm working with human figures. I mean, that's probably my favorite thing, is to work with human figures. But when I'm not, I love to work with text and you know, glass. This Fluidose words look like they're made out of some kind of gold, and the water that is pouring down over them. So, you know, I would love to learn to use Fluidose to the point and make this look. This ice looks almost like it's maybe plastic or something, and then it looks a little bit like it's a fizzy kind of water, like it looks like it's got fizz in it. It's just, I would like to, and this looks a little bit thick here, but this was done on probably a much weaker computer than mine that I have right now. Maybe not that much, but quite a bit weaker. So it's this is probably a masterpiece, and it was probably utilizing every bit of computing power that Alvin could muster up from his PC, that his workstation, and all of these look like he did a massive, like, miracle work to create these examples here of how Fluidose works. So where are we going to go next? So the next thing we're going to do is somewhere within on your hard drive, and I can't remember exactly where I found them. But I think they might be in documents in your My Daz folder. But I found these files, okay? And so we have two things. We have Fluidose 2 tutorials, and we have tutorial 1 and tutorial 2. And this is partially why I'm doing this, is because when you open the tutorial and you watch it, there's no one's talking, okay? And this couldn't be any more, like, kind of irritating to have a tutorial that nobody talks in, okay? So it's just it just really frustrates the crap out of me to have to watch a mouse and say, where is he now? What's he doing now? He's clicking up here now. It's just, okay, this is like a brain wrecker, okay, kind of tutorial. All right. I'm talking. So, and there might be a language that the artist Alvin may not speak English well or something like that. I'm not sure. So I just assume that's why, because I'm sure he has a very powerful computer, or maybe setting up the mics and setting up audio just isn't his thing. Okay. So, but we have two tutorials that are just like this, that are just horrible. There are words and all. So then the other option is a PDF manual. So let's open it with Adobe Acrobat. Reader, or Adobe Acrobat, I guess, Pro. And so as we go down through this, we are going to look at what, okay. Reopen, no, don't, no thanks. Okay. I think this might be, okay, where are the pages? Page 2. Okay, I think it's still loading. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is a, this is the, unfortunately, the second option is for me to go through and read this tutorial. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go through. So we have the contents, introduction, basic operation, resolution, components of the simulation, the Fluidose domain, engine, fluid type, obstacles, fluid objects, sources and sinks. This is so you don't have to read it, so you can sit back and just listen to me read it, okay? And see, that makes it a little easier than having to read it. Sources and sinks. Now, fluid objects, obstacles, okay? These, think about these things. So your fluid is going to land on, say, a sphere and pour around it. So we're these, and sources and sinks, okay? So the source is like, well, it comes out of a spigot and it drops down and goes down the drain, okay? So that's what sources and sinks, these things are actually named pretty well. Fluidose mesher. Now, that's something probably that puts a mesh around things so you can actually see it and see what it is, so it's not just this invisible cloud kind of thing. I'm not sure exactly. Viscosity, that's how thick the water is, and thick I think, units. I don't know what that is. Forces, like wind and stuff like that. I'm not sure exactly. Diffuse particles. This might be things that pop out of, like sparks that would come out of a smoke or something like that. I don't know. Okay, menus and properties. The Fluidose domain. This looks like the same thing. And then we have some appendices. Okay, running a simulation union of .vdb files. Hey, Ed. All right, well, that's awesome. So you're here just in time to see this. I went over before you got here. This is Fluidos II. It's $119, 71 bucks. It's on sale right now, okay? But what this is, if you're not, I'm sure you're probably aware of Fluidos, but it's an way of animating physical particles and stuff, so it's kind of high tech, but I don't think it's something impossible for us to learn, okay? So the thing is that Alvin's kind of made it impossible because his tutorials on YouTube are just, he doesn't talk in them, he doesn't explain them, and I'm not criticizing him, because what he's given us is a beautiful gift of the ability to manage physical particles. And if we can, all right, awesome, wow. Well, I think a 40% sale is pretty good. I believe I bought it, so I'm going to try to help you use it, okay? And so, because I'm going to tell you that I've already read through the manual like 3/4, 2/3 of the way, somewhere in around that. I haven't read the whole manual, but the rest is like appendices and stuff. So I've read through it once, and it's not that bad, okay? So the thing is you've got, yes, we can learn this together. That's it. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to work with Fluidos, and we're going to help Alvin out to try and put out some YouTube videos explaining this really, really awesome program. But what's really neat about this program is that you can create VDBs, okay, with Fluidos, okay? And if you notice that with Daz Studio right now, you have to go to like these third-party websites and you download their VDBs and you're kind of stuck, or you go into the Daz store and you buy these VDBs and you're kind of stuck with the shape that they give you, okay? Well, you can make your own VDBs in in Fluidos. The thing is that Daz that VDBs in Daz Studio have a limitation right now that really bothers the heck out of me, is that you can't colorize them with variations and stuff. The only way to do that is to put a mesh over them, and then you can colorize them. So what Alvin told me, because I asked him about this in the chats, and I'm going to sound really dumb when I explain this because I don't really understand a lot of this exactly. But what he told me is that they're waiting for NVIDIA to add this particular feature to Iray. And this feature will be, see, what I would love to do is like this right here. You notice it's all one color. That's all you can do is one color, okay? And you can make your particles all one color. And that's it. And you can't go in and say, well, I'd like the center to be this, or I can just grab a bunch of them and make them this color and that. There's no like real... I might not be explaining this right. And these particular particles, I believe they may actually be, I'm not sure if they even have emissive properties yet. But if you make them a certain color and you shine a light on them, well, then they're going to look like they have emissive properties, okay? So... if I want to make this like variegated so that it starts out like, say, white in the middle and starts to get more different colors as it goes out and out and out and out and like this, then what you do is, I don't know if you know what a gobo is, but you take one of these colored gobos that have and you shine a colored light onto it, and it will put this colored light onto this 3D particle field, okay? And then so if the gobo has like white light shining through, and then it goes and gets colorful and more colors, then it will shine. But what it will do is it's going to shine those same pattern of colors on everything in the scene. It will shine it on the wall behind it. It will shine it on the floor underneath it. So it's not actually the light itself emanating those colors. It's more like they're being imposed onto the surface, okay? And so that can work in certain situations, or I could just put like a little sphere in the middle here that is white, and then I like a point light, and I could put the little point light in here, and it will lighten and give it a certain intensity, and it will only lighten so much. Then I could put a circle of spheres, or maybe a Bezier that's a light, and have it go around and light this, and then another Bezier, or I could put little specks of light in these, and give each point light a different color, and light it kind of artificially in a 3D space. So that's another way of doing it. I hate doing that. I hate doing all of this. There should be a way to be able to give these lights, like grab a bunch of them and say, you're going to be this color and you're going to... So the other way of doing this would be to make this object into separate... Like make only the middle one, and that will be one color, and make that into one field, and so then you can give that a certain color, and then add a few more VDB few more Fluidose particle, and these are called domains. They're inside of a box. So if you've ever used a VDB, that box is called the domain. Okay, so I know a little bit about this, and it was about a month and a half ago when I read down through the Fluidose, maybe 2 months ago when I read down through the Fluidose manual. So this is the limitation that we're looking at with Fluidose. So when it comes to fire, and things like this, because it's showing that we can have a particle fire, and how he got these particles to look kind of reddish here, but then they're yellow here, I'm not sure. Okay, exactly, because this would be what we're looking at, is trying to get something that has that this looks like it's all one color, that's just blah like that, but these particles here look like they're yellow down in here and then they slowly become red. I'm not sure how he achieved that. Okay, this may be two particle fields put together, I'm not sure. So, and then this is a fluid mesh, and he gives us the shaders so that we can put them on fire. And if you have the shader that you can put on the fire, then you can change the shader colors and go in and edit them in the Iray shader tab. So this is really cool. So he gives us the shaders for these as well. So as you can see down here, there are a bunch of shaders that he gives us. These are the Iray, the shader Irays. This is Fluidose diffuse particle Irays. So you just make your, and he gives you a bunch of examples. So you can just load his examples into the scene. And then you can go in on the parameters tab and in the shaders tab and just dicker with them. But they're also, remember that these are animations also, okay? So when it loads these into the scene, I assume it's going to load this in as an animation into your timeline, okay? And so you can make the timeline larger, you can expand out some of the parameters. Now we're in Daz right now, and so when you click on Fluidose, and in order to get Fluidose to work, you have to go to into this, is it help, register, about install, go into help, go to about install plugins, and I believe you have to put a maybe you don't. So this is Parse. This is another one of his products. Fluidose. Okay, see, I don't see so maybe you don't have to put in a serial registration number, okay? But if it doesn't show up here, so you do a search into your content. So you just click on default, go to your smart content, type in Fluidose, and you're here, okay? And so what you do is you just put in these examples, and then you edit them to the way you want them to be. Now this is an explosion, but this might be like a particle field. This is dry ice. So this dry ice, I would assume that this is the VDB one. And also, when it comes to water and all, that what's really nice is that when you pour water into, like, say, a lake, like, say, a waterfall is coming down and it's pouring into the lake, okay? Well, there's one way where it just looks like it's just going right through the lake, and it's going like but you can merge them together. So when it pours down over the water, over the rocks and all that, and it falls and lands into the lake, that it merges into the lake surface. Okay, and that's part of Fluidose. That's something that works, and that is part of the that you can join them. And so it's something you have to do. You create and so let's go now back into our now this, you'll find this, and I don't know exactly where it is, but it's in like documents, or if you just go into your My Daz Studio library folder and do a search for Fluidose, you'll find this PDF file, and I believe you should find these tutorials as well. I don't know, I may have bought these Fluidose tutorials, but I don't think so. I think they come with, and then you would open this up with Adobe Acrobat Reader, or drag and drop it into Chrome or Edge, and it should display also in your browsers. So you should be able to view that in either browser. So, and it takes a moment for it to open, okay? Because it's a pretty big file, 138 pages, and there are a lot of images involved here. So, all right. So let's jump over the, okay, what did I just do? Let's jump over the content. Okay, introduction. Okay, so I hope we can. Hope we're ready to jump over the introduction, the contents. We'll be going through the contents in not fine detail, because I really don't understand a lot of this. But I'll tell you, it doesn't go like some things just go like algebra class or trigonometry class, just goes right over my head. And I can sit there and the teacher can talk for an hour and I won't understand a single thing. I'll just say, you know. But this actually, I can understand this. So if I can understand it, I think maybe I can help others to understand it. It's a Daz Studio. For Daz Studio is a plugin that runs a modified version of an external fluid simulator, Grid Fluid Sim 3D, okay? And this is the guy who created this grid. So it's apparently, now I don't know if this Grid Fluid Sim, I think he explains it more about who created it and what it is, okay? So with some, okay, from this guy, okay, and there's his website with some algorithms adapted from Flip Viscosity 3D, which there is their website, and C-Batty Variational Viscosity 3D, https github.com. Chris, okay, that, okay. And these programs are implementations of Pick, Flip, Liquid Fluid Simulation written in C++11 based on the works of Robert Bridson and Christopher Batty. The fluid simulation engine outputs the surface of the fluids as a sequence of triangle meshes stored in the Sanford.ply file format. The engine incorporates also OpenVDB tools. There's that word, OpenVDB, which is what that whole new thing that Daz has now, Daz 2.1 has, to 2.0. I think we're up to 2.1 now, but no, 4.0, okay? 4.20, excuse me. So open VDB tools to achieve high quality results. Okay, and this is the openvdb.org. Okay, key features, use of, now I'm just going to jump through some of these, okay? Multi-threaded is very important. So use of high performance OpenVDB tools for meshing, filtering, level sets, and pressure projection, okay? So you could make your own fires and things like that, and set it up exactly the way, explosions and things like that. So smoke, okay. So you don't have to use somebody else's VDBs, okay. If we can master this, okay. GPU accelerated steps using OpenCL. So your GPU is going to help tremendously to do things that years ago we just couldn't do with our computers, because the CPU was so bogged down by these kinds of things. So multi-threaded, which means your CPU can also help. So liquid smoke and volumetric liquid smoke and volumetric fire simulation. Now it seems like there's something more too. But liquid smoke and volumetric fire, which the smoke would be our VDBs like fog and haze and things like that. So I believe, I'm not sure exactly, accurate viscosity for buckling, coiling, and rotating liquids. So, yeah. So viscosity means that the computer is aware of how thick things are. Is this oil? Is it water? Is it something lighter than water, like isopropyl alcohol or something? I think that's lighter than water. So it has accurate knowledge of awareness of what it is, okay, and how it reacts with other viscosities, okay, and rotating liquids. So this would have to do with stirring stuff in, I guess, a blender, maybe putting stuff in a blender. I'm just guessing, okay? I'm paraphrasing, and I might be saying things that just don't. But that's what I've noticed about this. The way this is written, it's written in a way that you can kind of understand. Like, everyone knows what a particle is. It's just like a little piece of something, and simulation, diffuse is, diffuse is a little harder of a word, but I believe it just means things bouncing off of something, like going pew, 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 kind of things out of a fire, like the embers from a fire. And you've got your smoke coming out, you got the fire coming up, and then you got little embers. So or ocean waves, when you have waves coming into the beach and you have foam, and so it makes foam. This can make foam, but it can also make those splashes of water, okay? So stabilization steps to generate only one frame. So that's nice. So you can stop your animation anywhere you want and say, okay, that's the fire I want, okay? That's a nice thing. So autosave and load state of a simulation. Well, that's really nice. The autosave is nice, but the ability to come back to your simulation and have it still there in your Daz project, that's very nice too. So, okay, for more technical explanations about fluid simulation, see the references, and those are at the end, okay? How to register the product, okay? Okay, so you do have to go to your serial number, copy the reason why mine's not there probably is because mine's already registered. Okay, so you have to go into your serial numbers in your Daz Studio account, and you have to get the serial number, copy it, and paste it into that part here in help, about plugins, and look for your Fluidose, and it will have one of these things here. Okay, the reason why these aren't here is because I haven't put the serial numbers. I think they would, yes, because when it has a green plugin, that means it's activated, okay? So these ones, this Physio, I haven't activated. I just bought this constructive, well, I don't know about that. I didn't buy it just recently. And the thickener, that's another thing that I haven't activated yet. So you'll see one of these things here if you need to you'll need to put your serial number in to activate Fluidos, okay? So, and that's again in your help about installed plugins, okay, up here in your file menu. All right, so let's go back. Click on the serial. Okay, start Daz Studio. So you have to put in the serial numbers, then go to help about, scroll down, and then once you put your serial number in, and it will say that it's there, then you have to close Daz and restart it, and it will load it into its terminate and stay resident memory, something like that. Okay, restart Daz Studio and you should be up and running. So then, okay, so once you restart it, then you should be able to go here to this and go to your products to default, and when you type in Fluidos into your smart content, you should be able to find Fluidos II for Daz Studio. Okay, so, and once you have that, double click and then click on all files, and you can see all the files that come and these, so with it, and you can see these are your some of your these shaders, okay, for the different items. So this isn't going to be way over our head, okay, but there are parts that get really complicated, okay, because when you think about fire like down in the core of the fire is a certain temperature, and as the fire starts to like flame up, it gets a little cooler, and as it starts to get to the tip of the fire, I think it actually gets hotter because it's like almost like a steam kind of heat, a scorching heat that's up at the tips. So the program is actually working with temperature when it's working on the level of temperature. So we're going to be learning things about, but they're all going to be in the parameters. So you can just go in the parameters and mess with the temperature settings, or mess with the thickness settings, and all of these different settings for these different types of scenes. And he gives you these examples to get you in the ballpark, okay? To get you into the ballpark, so then you can from there play around with the parameters. And we're going to talk about the parameters. They're coming up right now. You get Daz, get it running in Daz Studio. So get Fluidos, get the serial number put in and get it running. Then it says installation and compatibility issues with Fluidos for Daz. Now, I also talked with Alvin, and I said this came out like a year ago, and I said I said, does it actually work with Daz 4.20? Does it actually or does that render a bunch of these things? No, do they no longer work? And he says everything still works in Daz 4.20. So okay, so I can let you know that if you purchase this, you're not purchasing some old product that just doesn't work anymore. Okay, so so it's all going to work on your computer. Of course, you have to have I believe you have to have an NVIDIA graphics card. Well, actually, it does offer what is it called? 3DL. What are they? Yeah, 3DL textures as well. You give Iray textures and 3D textures. So you don't have to have an NVIDIA graphics card. I believe it'll accelerate with either one. So, okay, now if you have, it says it is necessary to uninstall Fluidos 1.3 plugin. They cannot work side by side. So if you have Fluidos 1.3, you have to uninstall it, okay? Now, I wish I had thought to tell you that right from the beginning, and how you would uninstall Fluidose 1.3. I would assume what you would do is uninstall Fluidose 2, and then go in and uninstall Fluidose 1.3 in your install manager. Luckily, I didn't have to, because I came into the game and bought Fluidose 2, and I hadn't bought any of the previous Fluidose products. So all I had to do was install Fluidose 2. But if you have purchased Fluidose, any of the previous versions of Fluidose, I would uninstall them and make sure you buy the Fluidose Pro version. This is the full version. It's $119. It's $71 right now on sale. I think I paid about maybe $40 for it. I might have even paid less, because I used all kinds at the time there were sales, but I'm not going to rub that in. $71 is a good it's 40% off the price. So it's worth buying. I don't know if I could have brought myself to buy it for $119, but the fact is they do have sales a lot on it. Okay, so it is not necessary to uninstall the contents of Fluidose 1.3. So I believe what'll happen is Fluidose 2 will just overwrite them. Okay, so it doesn't. I don't believe there would be any more contents for Fluidose 1.3 that wouldn't be included in Fluidose 2. Okay. There might be some examples, but you would probably have better examples in Fluidose 2. So they're not going to leave you without examples for any particular thing. It is necessary that OpenCL for your GPU vendor is installed in your computer. Now write this down, because you're going to have to find this. Okay, OpenCL for your GPU vendor. So if you have an AMD, an AMD graphics card, then you have to install OpenCL. It might already be on your computer. I don't know. Now, I don't know that OpenCL is even installed on my computer, and we will find out. But I'm going to take a pen right now, and I'm going to write down OpenCL for NVIDIA. Well, what I'll do is open a notepad. Note. And OpenCL for NVIDIA. Install. Because I read this in the manual, and then I got about halfway through the manual, and I was like, oh, yeah. What was that thing I had to install again? So then you have to go back and look through the manual and find it. Okay, so it's OpenCL. Okay? And that's one word. OpenCL for NVIDIA would be mine. File, save as, and I'm going to call this OpenCL for NVIDIA desktop. Okay. So just in case I get this on and it's not working, you'll know why. Okay. I have all kinds of things. Now, this is obviously OpenCL has a lot to do with this C++ thing, okay? And I have all this C++ stuff installed on my computer, and because I have a gaming environment, I play all these games also with my computer. So I believe that they get installed. They have something to do maybe with the physics engine and all that stuff. I'm not sure. So, but I believe that Microsoft installs all that stuff on here. Okay. So we are now going to go down here to basic operation. Okay. A fluid simulation takes place in a spatial region called a Fluidos domain. Now, if we go up in here and we go create, once it's installed on your computer, you'll see down here it says Fluidos domain, Fluidos sourcing, Fluidos force. That's like windmill or something, a fan, Fluidos mesher. And this is Parsis. We're gonna go from Fluidos to Parsis. So Parsis is another product that Alvin makes. So we're going to study Fluidos, learn how to use it. See, I'm making this video so that in about like a week or two, I will have forgotten everything. My brain, I have to go over it and over it and over. So I have this video on YouTube that I can watch and say, oh yeah, that's how Fluidos works. Okay, so I'm doing it also for myself. I guess that's a little bit selfish, but I'm also, if that was the case, I would just, if I was just really being selfish, I would just record it for myself and leave it on my hard drive. But I'm putting it out here so everybody else can use this as well. Okay, so a fluid simulation takes place in a spatial region. That spatial region, I think, is another word for a cube, okay, called a Fluidos domain. The objects with a geometry inside the domain will be considered as fluid or solid obstacles. Okay, so in order for the domain to interact with other things, like if you make a fluid and you want it to pour over the sphere, the sphere has to be within the domain. You could make the domain giant, but the fluid could only be a small thing. Okay, so the objects with a geometry inside the domain will be considered as fluids or solid obstacles. Okay, there are objects that the simulator can manage: forces, fluid sources, fluid sinks. Okay, so forces, okay, like wind. I don't know of any other forces, but there are maybe turbulence, waves and swirls. I'm not sure, things like that. Okay, now gravity. Okay, pulling things down. So those are forces. Fluid sources and fluid sinks. The fluid source would be like the bubbling coming out of the ground or something, where it's, or like a volcano, or a sink faucet where it's coming out of the. So the fluid source is that. It's simple. It's not. This isn't really that hard to understand. Okay, so the fluid sources, these are important basic pillars of using Fluidos, is understanding the terminology, because you're going to see that in the parameters where, or here where it's going to say, up in here where it's going to say create a source or a sink. And so you click on this and you create one of these, and it's either going to be where the water goes, or it's going to be where the water comes from. So that's kind of simple. It's not that hard, and this is what makes this so amazing to me, because I expected this. It gets complicated, okay? Because you figure the fluid source, and then what's the fluid, and how thick it is, and how does it interact with things? Oh yes, it can get complicated, but the basics of this are pretty simple. And what's nice about it is you can just dicker with the parameters and say, okay, the how thick it is. Well, it's going to say something like the viscosity, and you can add, say, well, let's make the viscosity a little higher or a little bit lower, and see what it looks like, and then play the simulation and see what it looks like. So, and I'm simplifying that part, but that part gets into, there are lots of different things that affect the fluid, and but I'm getting ahead of myself. Fluid sources are inputs of a fluid inside the domain. Inputs. I don't know whether if that's the word I would use, but inputs works of a fluid inside the domain, while sinks are outputs. Okay. So I think that's almost backwards from like the fluid source would be an output. It would output the put the fluid out. But I guess that's the way it is, okay? It's just the way. So it puts the fluid in, it inputs the fluid into the domain, and the sink sucks the fluid out of the domain, okay? So I guess those are correct. So the simulator saves. It's like I would like raise my hand in school, my chemistry or whatever teacher, and say, "Isn't that backwards?" And so like derail the conversation for an hour while we explain the difference of inputs and outputs. But the simulator saves the results in files, at least one for each frame. Okay, so you set all the parameters up, and then you set how long your animation is, and the simulator saves the results in a file. Okay. To visualize the simulated fluids, there is a mesher that shows fluid surfaces or diffuse particles. Okay, so the mesher is not something that maybe you actually see in the final render. It's something that you see in texture shaded mode. It allows you to put a mesh around the VDB, so that you can actually see what it's doing in texture shaded mode. To visualize the simulated fluid, there's a mesher, or otherwise it would be, I don't know. I think Angus may come and go, Ed. He might come and go. I think he's been in here, but this might be a little bit more than Angus wants to chew, because Angus doesn't actually work in Daz Studio, and I think he probably enjoys more when I'm actually working with figures, and this is a little dry for him. So if he's not here, I wouldn't blame him for wanting to watch the news or something. Even the news is probably more exciting than this. So I think he'll pop in and out. And every once in a great while, he just misses. He won't notice that that YouTube is sending him a notification. So every once in a while, very rare. Oh, there's Angus. Angus, the mice are here. So yeah, I'm not sure why the concurrent viewers doesn't update. There's definitely 2 people viewing this, but it's not showing either of you. So I hope this isn't too dry for you, Angus, because it is. We're just reading an owner's manual for this product. So yes, well, thanks for asking about Angus, Ed. That's very nice of you. Very nice. It's nice to know that you two are friendly, and that my viewers are communicating together. I love to introduce my friends to my other friends. I'm that kind of person. So that introduces my friends to. I don't keep them to myself. I'm not that kind of person. So I figure they can go and talk. There's nothing about me that they can't talk about. So I hope that I know of. All right. To visualize the simulated, so we're going to just go back over the fluids. There is a mesher that shows fluid surfaces or diffuse particles. So the mesher goes around things, or maybe around the diffuse particles, so that you can see them. And so it's putting a mesh around them that's really not in the infant station of the mice. I know. So yes, just the mice are here. I forgot to put out some kind of something for the mice to nibble on. So Okay, color of properties. Okay, the properties in the user interface now have color. Now don't let this contradict what I told you. They're not, it's not the kind of color that I was telling you about having, so bluish for basic properties, greenish for, so these are the properties of your simulation. So bluish is for basic properties, greenish is for intermediate, and grayish is for advanced properties. And I don't mean to discourage you, but I'm going to tell you that you can set a property in the basic properties, and then you can go into the greenish intermediate properties and set another property there, and it will kind of like make the bluish property not work anymore. It's very complicated how it's like you can set the fire to be a certain temperature, and then you can set the room to be like 0 below. And then you wonder why your fire won't light, okay? Because the room temperature is so low. So these properties, and that's why I said it's a little bit, it gets more complicated than just the input and the output, but that these parameters are all related to each other, okay? So, first example, liquid, okay? So prepare a folder where the simulation can save the fluid simulation files anywhere you wish. Okay, so you want to put a folder somewhere in your, I usually put it in where I keep my Daz project files, okay? And just put a folder and call it Fluidose project files, and then I would give it the same name as your project in the Daz, so that you know that it's the fluid that goes with that project, okay? Or the not fluid, but the Fluidose objects, okay? So you can save them anywhere you wish. A fast drive as SSD may enhance performance when rendering, okay? Create a new scene, okay? Insert a Fluidose domain, menu, create new Fluidose domain, and accept. Okay, so let's see. Let's open this up. And let's open a new tab. And let's go to Daz Studio Render. And I'm going to go create a new folder. New folder. And I'm going to call this 1A, so it's up at the top. Fluidose objects. Okay. Project objects. Objects. Fluidose Daz. Okay, so now it's right up in here, and then we're going to go new folder, and we'll call this Fluidose project. Fluidose, that needs an L. Project 1. Okay, so we've created our project folder, and then we go in here, and it says to add a domain. So let's create a new Fluidose domain. Accept. There it is. Hey, we have a domain. See, I don't remember. I think I just read through these because I was reading this laying down. So I decided not to get up and actually go and do these. Okay. Insert a domain, okay, and accept. Insert a sphere primitive. 0.6 meter diameter is a good option. So let's go here now, and let's create a sphere. Diameter 0.6. was that 6 or was it 0.06? I didn't pay attention. 0.6 meter. Okay, accept. All right. And okay, let's just leave it like that until they tell me what to do with it. Okay, we're done here. Now let's go back to here. Move the sphere to the center of the Fluidose domain. Okay. So let's select this sphere. And or I could move the Fluidose domain to, but let's do what they tell me. Let's not be creative with it. So we're going to look at the top and make sure it's there and put this in the center of the domain. And then we're going to move it up so it's not sitting on the floor. Just up a little bit so it's not poking through the bottom of the domain. Okay. So this is simple enough. Don't scale the domain for now. And that's something I'm going to tell you is that when you scale the domain, it throws off all of your parameters. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So that kind of bugged me because I thought, well, why can't you just have the parameters automatically scale themselves? You know, and no. So then you have to go and set all your temperatures and all that stuff. And so you've got to become proficient with this. There's just no way around it, okay? So in the parameters tab of the sphere as it is parent, okay, move the sphere to the center of the, scale the sphere if you wish, but avoid to fill all the domain. Don't scale the domain for now. In the parameters tab of the sphere, as it is in the parameters tab of the sphere, as it is parented to the Fluidose, there are new parameters. Okay, I didn't see it say move the sphere to the center. The scale the sphere to fill all the, don't scale. As it is parented to the Fluidose domain, there are new parameters. Oh, as it is so, we have to parent it to the Fluidose domain. So let's just drop it in there. Okay, so we've now, there should be new, it says there should be new parameters. Oh, there it is, Fluidose now. Okay, thicken, add body force, solid obstacle. Okay, so once you put that in there, let's try unparenting it. Okay, so now that disappears. So once you parent that into the Fluidose domain, we now have a Fluidose tab. Okay? That's how that works. Okay, so I wanted to compliment Alvin because his tutorials online are terrible. He doesn't speak in them, he doesn't talk in them, and they're just, you have to follow them. It's maddening. But the way this manual is written, it's written very, 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 very well. Okay, so as it is parented to the Fluidose domain, there are new parameters in the Fluidose group. Select fluid mass in the object type option. So fluid mass. So it says solid, fluid mass. Okay, there we go. So now this is a fluid, this sphere, I guess. It's all right, so, okay. Maybe we need to raise this up a little bit. I'm not sure. Okay. All right, so it says select fluid mass. There are new parameters in the fluid. Select fluid mass in the object type option. Select the fluid domain. Okay, Fluidose domain now. We go back here. All right, that's done. In the Fluidose domain properties, parameter tab, subgroup Fluidose main settings, change the number of frames to 30 to obtain 1 second in the simulation. Okay, all right, so Parameters tab, subgroup, Fluidos main settings. Subgroup, okay, where's main settings? Number of frames. It says 30, right? 30. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Yeah, so now we have 30 frames in our... Oh, this is nice. See, this is already in the timeline, so this is how you set your frames. Okay, I'm getting it. Properties. Set the... Okay, change the number to 30 to obtain 1 second in the simulation. Let the cell size in 2.50 centimeters. Now that doesn't look like proper English. It would mean, I think it's set the cell size to 2.5 centimeters. The cell size, let's see. Set the cell size. Cell size 2. Okay, so that's it's already there. 2.5 is the cell size. So see, we got some parameters here. And notice the colors. There's green, blue, and gray. So these all are going to have different... And the gray, I think they said were advanced. I forget which ones were the intermediate ones, but we could look back just a little bit and see which one. Okay, the properties, bluish for basic, green for intermediate, and gray for advanced. Okay, so it says select the Fluidos domain. Okay, so the cell size is at 2.5. Okay. All right, in the same Fluidos domain properties, subgroup Fluidos main settings, click on Baked Files folder and select Browse to locate the folder mentioned in step 1, okay? So, all right, so we go here to Baked Files folder. Where's that? Main settings, Baked Files folder, okay? Browse, and now we go to this one. No, we would go to... I hope it doesn't have to be within my... No, I'm not gonna put it in my Daz library. It didn't say I had to put them there, so I'm gonna put this in. Where is it? Up here. And here it is. Fluidos project. Okay. Fluidos project 1. Baked files folder. Okay. And this isn't really that hard, okay? To do this. Now, just following along here, it seems like it's a lot of processes, but this is going to be, this is just to make a fluid. So now the same, okay, the mentioned step 1, call the simulator, run edit menu edit, and run fluid simulation, okay? I think I'm going to move this sphere up a little more. As long as it's within the domain. Okay, edit. Run fluid simulation. Okay, it doesn't say that I need to do anything. But let's go back and maybe I need to check something here. Click accept in the dialog. Accept. How fast does this run on my computer? Well, I don't think this would work if I didn't have that what is it called? OpenCL for NVIDIA installed. We'll see. Okay, it didn't do anything. Maybe because I have to drag the timeline. Okay. Wait for the simulate progress bar is displaying. Set the inserted sphere to invisible. Okay, so we're going to turn this sphere off. Okay. Oh, this is complex. Okay. Set this. All right. Set the. Now insert a Fluidose mesher. Menu create. And accept. This must be in the same position as the Fluidose domain. So let's set in a mesher. Create. Well, they're in the same domain. Same. All right. All right. Choose the same bake file folder for the mesher in the parameters tab. Subgroup. Okay. So we click the mesher. And we go subgroup. What subgroup? In the Parameters tab, Fluidose Mesher General. Okay. I don't see it. Let's close this down. We've got the mesher. Subgroup General. Resolution level. Maybe I've got to pull this up. Resolution level point at. All right, let's go up here, and it should be in here somewhere. Oh gosh. Okay, baked files folder. Oh, Fluidose Mesher General. There it is. Baked files folder. Browse. And we're going to go up here again to this project. Select. All right. So now that has the same folder. All right. We're keeping up with it. Folder, Mesher tab. Okay. Set keyframe. Set a keyframe at 0 in the timeline. All right, set a keyframe at 0 in the timeline. You got to kind of know what you're doing here. So we have the mesher selected. Mesher is selected here. And we're going to set a keyframe. Add a keyframe. Okay. And set that, I think. Now, in frame 30 by setting completion to 100%. Where's completion? To 100%. Okay, I didn't see it put any. All right, we added another keyframe there. All right. Put a second one in frame 30 by setting. Well, I set it to 100%. It should have put a keyframe there, but it didn't. Set on enabled in properties. Enabled in properties. On enabled. Enabled on. Oh! Okay. So this is our animation then. So we can click play. And what was this? Is set to Okay, so slowly this sphere becomes a liquid. And there is our first, we did it. So what you're seeing is a mesh that's been placed around the liquid. Now we have all of these. We have the sphere, we have the domain, and the sphere has been turned off. So we're looking at not the sphere, but we're looking at the mesh. Remember, before we put the mesh on, yeah, the mesh is become the skin of the sphere. The sphere is actually turned off, and the mesh has been wrapped around the sphere. And now I'm just talking about things that I don't really know what I'm talking about, so I might as well just shut up. Okay, so but this is working. Now that is very cool. Let's save this. So we have Fluidose Duff. All right, so this is pretty cool. This is our first thing. Now, what does this look like in Iray? Can we see that? No, it just looks terrible in Iray. It's because we don't have any kind of texture on it yet. Okay, it's just a white surface. So we have to put one of his magic textures. I could probably take one of these items, that would be maybe the mesher, and go and put some kind of water surface on it. That would be interesting. I have tons and tons of water surfaces. So so this is very, very good. We now have I don't know if you're following along with this, Ed, but the one way would be just to kind of follow along and do, but you can do that later and catch up too. So you can watch and then catch up, because I have kind of cheated in this process, because I've read through most of the manual, and I didn't just read through it. I really took my time studying the manual. I read really deeply into it so that I could kind of understand, but I didn't follow along with these examples, okay? So this is what's different. So that's why I kind of know a little bit of what to expect. So I read through these examples. So that is very good. Let's see what he wants us to do next. Okay, so this works. Okay, now, okay, you will see a preview. This is intended to get a fast scroll around the timeline. So that's what I did, was I got a scroll through the timeline. The final simulation can be seen by setting off the preview parameter of the mesher. Call again is similar and set on, continue. Okay, so why would I turn this off now? Mesher. Okay, it says the final simulation can be seen by setting off the preview parameter. The preview parameter of the mesher. Where's the preview? Oh, here, off. Okay, that's on. Okay. So that's, yeah. That was already off. Okay. So all we had to do was put in 2 keyframes during this simulation, one at the beginning and one at the end, and let the force, which there's obviously some kind of force, which is a gravitational force. And that's probably by default set to be like regular gravity. So cancel in the progress to resume, call again the simulator and set on continue save state before clicking the accept button in the dialog box. The final results at frame 30 must be similar to the following image. His looks better than mine, I think. For this frame 30. Okay, let's see. Frame 30, what's mine look like? Yeah, that looks about like his. Okay, what did I do? Oh, I'm in Iray. Yeah, so mine looks about like his does. Yeah, so this is pretty cool. And notice there are little droplets that have come off, even little teeny tiny. So, and it's all staying within the domain. Okay. So this was a success. Our first part of the tutorial. Note, if the user changes the default values in the preferred device to CPU or enable OpenCL property, the plugin will remember these two settings for the next time you create a new fluid domain. Okay, so if the user changes the default values in the preferred device, the defaults are OpenCL on preferred device GPU. So that's what it's using OpenCL preferred device to CPU. Okay, I didn't see that, so let's see where we can fluid domain general. Okay, this would be I don't see it. Fluid mesher. Let's try. Okay, I don't see an option here for that, so maybe it's in the domain. Look at all these. Okay, liquid. Okay, where's preferred device? Engine, Fluidos II, better. Okay, I think if I change the meshing type to like then I'll have to rerun the simulation. I'm not sure. Okay, so Gaussian. Okay, here it is. GPU, CPU, and GPU2. I have two GPUs, so that's good. It's set to that. And then the other one was, what was the other one? Enable OpenCL on. Let's see if that's enabled. Yeah, OpenCL is on. So we have that here as well. So apparently it wouldn't have worked if, and this is in your Fluidose domain that we have our GPU. So now I could put like a figure in the middle of this now, and I'm not sure. Okay, we're going to go ahead because I think he's going to tell us how to make, because this looks terrible. It doesn't have a texture on it. And I personally don't know if I put, you definitely don't put you don't put your shader on the domain, okay? Or it would make this box, I would assume, like it would the color of your shader. So I would assume you put the shader on your mesher, okay? But I'm not certain about that, okay? And he said something about turning this on and off again, something here. On to continue save state before clicking the accept button in the dialog box. It's like, I don't know what the heck he's talking about here. You can stop the simulation by pressing the escape key or click in cancel in the progress bar. Okay. To resume, call again the simulator and set on continue save state before clicking the accept. Oh, so those were some of those options. You can stop the simulation and then continue. Okay, so those were some of those options in the simulator. All right. So you can stop the simulation. We're generally not going to stop the simulation unless we see something go really terribly wrong. And then there are options to say, like delete the save state or continue rendering, resume render, or, so those are those options. Okay, so the final result is his looks different because his ball was set at a different height or different thing. So, but it looks pretty much the same. He's got some tricks to make his look cooler. So he's got little holes in his, and ours doesn't have little holes like that. So yeah, that does. So it's pretty much the same thing. His ball was at a different place. He may have set it up exactly all the way up to the top, so it had further to fall. I don't know. Or he may have just set it halfway in the middle. So it all depends on where he placed the ball. I placed mine up kind of high, so it plopped down, and I've got a few pieces floating in the air. Now, how to set the mesh better so that it's even. Now, when we zoom in here, this looks choppy. So how do we set that so that it doesn't, so that it has a higher resolution? That's going to be something we're going to want to learn. So that if it, that only took like a quarter of a minute to do this simulation. So, but mine went all the way up to the top and actually touched the ceiling. See, this is flat against the ceiling, so we achieved a very high flow. This one actually looks like it hit the top. I'm not positive, but it looks like it did. This one maybe didn't. These two didn't. And if I'd set that up maybe a little bit higher, this one looks like it hit the top. No, maybe not. But no, I don't think it did. Maybe it did and dropped down. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like they did hit the top. I'm not sure. This is amazing. This is really amazing. So we get a really beautiful. And so you can do this with any object. You just take anything. Now, okay, it has to be a closed object. You can't take a plane and do this. It has to be a closed object, okay? So I think that's the general rule, and it has to be within the domain. If their leg is outside the domain, or if part of the sphere is outside, it won't work right. So I'm not sure what'll happen, but it will only impact what's inside the domain. So that's another thing. No, because that was what I thought Ed was to put, but the sphere has been hidden. Okay, so it's like turned off. So the shader has to go on the mesh that's around the sphere. Okay, so I would assume that it's the mesher. He's going to go into that, and he's going to teach us this. So that's what's coming up next. I just wanted to make sure I understood these little teeny tiny subtle hints and things in here, and I think we've done it. So let's now move down. This goes so quick, it's hard to tell, okay, where I am here. So I guess that works fast. So we can stop the simulation. So we got simulation, resume, and all that in those simulation buttons. Okay, so the next example is smoke. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this simulation, and then we're going to we'll save it right now. I think it was already saved. Let's take a look at this mesher. Well, let's use his shaders, okay? One of these is going to be for water, I assume. Smoke. This is for particles. Fire. Smoke. Okay, I don't see a water. Smoke. Oh, and then we have utilities here. Very high resolution. So I don't know what I'm supposed to click. So let's try this. Right click for options. All right, let's experiment a little bit. Domain must exist in the scene and it must be selected. Okay, so let's select the domain. All right, so I just selected that. Now we're going to go back to Edit, Run Fluidos Simulation. Okay, let's go back to the beginning here. Edit, Run Fluid Simulation. Accept. Now it's taking some time. Okay. Simulation running. That was a huge chunk. So it worked. So you click on the domain, and this is how we get a higher resolution. Now we've got these ribs in this because now probably if I put what's it called, sub D on the sphere. See, now this is, oh, and it's showing me it actually do this once you set all the parameters. Then when it goes through the, so this definitely works, changing the now I wonder if, okay, it's not going to, well, I think it'll let me, once it gets a moment, I can drag this out of the way. So I think we got low, medium, high, and super high, so I'm not sure. So I think you're right, Ed, like to put the shader, try putting the shaders, try messing with this a little bit. Let's not just leave it at this, okay? So it's not going to let me move this simulation. Oh, there it is. Very high. Okay. So we have high, medium, low, and very high. So this very high one. Yeah, well, this is for the very high one, and I have a feeling the very high one is just super, 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 super. And I also have a feeling that maybe the default was low, set to low. So I'm just guessing at that. So I would like to think it was at medium, but it doesn't say that any of these are the default. Okay, so I don't know which one it is. And somewhere in here, probably you can set this. This is a script to go in and change some of these things. So, and apparently it's also only using one of my graphics cards. Now I have 12 cores. And so that's, I have a 12-core i9 computer. So I wonder if this is the kind of geometry that might actually, that a CPU could actually do this geometry better than a GPU. I don't know. So, because it says it's also set up to do multi-core processing. So this is really fun. I am going to try and go into this whole Fluidose thing, and we're going to, because as we go through, like the water I think is kind of simple. You just change the viscosity and you've got honey or you've got a different kind of water. You just go in and change. I think water is going to be kind of simple. That's why he started out with water. But fire involves heat, and smoke also involves heat. It has to rise to some degree. So yeah, this very high, it's probably, it's just extremely high. But you figure how long it takes once it's rendered this simulation. And you know, this isn't that much longer than my computer takes to do a dForce simulation. You know, some of my dForce simulations take a while to do. So now I think I remember you saying you had a 1080 Ti. I'm not sure, and that's not a bad That's not a bad graphics card. I had a 1080 Ti. I paid $1,000 for it. So I paid $1,000 for a 1080 Ti. So I've got one of them sitting in a drawer in my in one of my bureaus right now. I have another 1080 Ti sitting in my streaming computer, and that's what I'm using to stream over the internet. So and then I have the two 3090s in my Daz Studio computer, the one you're seeing with Daz in the background. So yeah, so the second 1080 Ti I paid $500 for off of Amazon. It was refurnished. Yeah. 4090, yeah. Well, the prices I hear are coming way, way, way down on those. The 4090, I would go for a 4090. You'll get more power out of it than a 3090. And I believe the 4090 costs less than like a 3090 right now. So you just have to make sure you have the power supply to run it and all. And I believe a 4090 may also be PCI Express 5.0. So you might have to get a new motherboard to run a 4090. So I think the PCIe 5 or something, I'm not sure. No, I think it's high. It's at maybe 4.0, but maybe I think it might even be 5.0. Is a 4090. Okay. Yeah, PCI 4090 graphics card features PCI Express 4.0 16, even though its power architecture meets PCIe Gen 5 standards. So it'll run on a 4.0, but it is a PCIe Gen 5 standard. I believe that if you run it at 4.0 at 16, that it will utilize all of its power. That 4.0 can utilize all the power of a PCIe of a 4090. So, yeah, you might look into getting a motherboard that has PCIe 5. And if you get a motherboard that has PCIe 5, you might as well make sure you have an extra slot that's like a four slots down, so you could get another 4090 at some point and throw that in at the same time and have them both run together. And I believe they would both run together on a 1600 PCI 1600 1600 power supply. But when you run a 1600 power supply, you have to make sure that your wall power is set on a high fuse. And if you live in an apartment or in a house where when you run your I would look into a 3090 because I can't really advise you. The 3070, you can double them up. You could run your 1080 Ti with a 3070. Yeah, I would at least go. I think the 3080 has the same amount of video RAM, and you want to get at least 24 gigs of video RAM so that you can make some good size scenes. Okay? So, yeah, because I was running into the limit of the 24 gigs on a lot of scenes. So when I got the two 3090s, I run them in SLI mode, and it pools the memory together. So I have about 48 gigs now of video RAM, and I haven't made a scene yet that uses all of that memory yet. So this has been 7 minutes. It's going to be another 10 minutes before this is done. But look at what it's doing. Look at how it's pooling up there. This is just going to melt into completely. The mesh on it is hanging on that sphere, that invisible sphere. It's hanging on that like it's like very, very accurately hanging on that sphere. And I don't know, it looks like these are little scratches or something along the... Look at that now. So we know that all we have to do is click on this, and all of a sudden our now this is something that, this is going to be done in 15 minutes. It's not like an all-night kind of render thing. So, but all we're doing is a sphere right now. And imagine if we use this. Now, if we use the faucet and we put a drain down here inside of here, then we could pour the water over something, and it would fill around and then go down the drain and go out of our domain. Would come in and go out. How that's going to work? Well, they're going to teach us that stuff. So, yeah, I wouldn't get anything less than a 3090, okay? Because you can always, and I have heard that a that a 3090 Ti will link with a 3090 in SLI mode. I'm not positive about that, but somebody said they were running the 3090 with a 3090 Ti in SLI mode. I don't know if that works or not. So, but the thing, so if you get a 3070 and you throw your 1080 Ti, then you're limited by the amount of RAM you have in your 1080 Ti. And that would be nice for some scenes. It's just not worth it. And I will say that the big thing you really want is that memory pool. Okay? The memory pool, so that your scenes, you can make scenes, so that you can make scenes that go that are larger than 24 gigs. Because even on the most complex scenes that I do with two 3090s, and I will render them at like 10,000 by 10,000 pixels, the most it takes for even some of the most complex scene is a couple hours to render. Okay? And I can just watch a movie and it's done in 2 hours. And it's not like an all-night render. So it's, eventually it becomes overkill on those CUDA cores. Yeah, the CUDA cores become like, two 3090s, you're talking, I don't know, 6,000, 60,000 or 600,000, I don't know, CUDA cores. Eventually, I would have been happy with just the CUDA cores from one of the 3090s, so yeah, it takes 4 hours on a really, really complex scene to render. I don't mind that. But the thing, because I just set it rendering and go to bed and it's done in the morning, kind of thing. So, but the most important thing to me, you don't want to run a 1080 with a 3090. The 3090 will just blow the doors off the 1080. Like I said, you're going to have so many CUDA cores that just anything you go to render will render, even if it's gigantic, even if you set in your render settings, you set it up to 10,000 pixels by 10,000 pixels, your 3090 is going to render just about anything in about 2 hours, and you can have it like up to 2,000 iterations in 2 hours. So that 3090 alone will carry you for a long time, okay? So so you can run them both together, but the 1080 has only 11 gigs and the 3090 has 24 gigs of video memory, okay? So if you render them together, then the highest project you can render them both together with is 10 gigs. Because if it's more than 10 gigs, which it's easy to go over 10 gigs with a 1080 Ti. Just think of how many scenes that you've made and then it reverts to your PC because it's too big for your 1080 Ti. So, but with the 3090, you got like double that, over double that. So you're not going to want the 1080 in the same computer, and the 1080 is noisy. It's kind of noisy. It runs hot. So you don't want to put the 1080 in the same computer with the 3090. The 3090 will just blow the doors way off the 1080. It will render things like 4 times faster than the 1080 alone. Yeah, at least 4 times faster. So you just want to put the 3090, and I don't know if it's a 3090 or a 3090 Ti, whatever you want, if you can get I would just look at whatever one has the most CUDA cores and the most like frequency, and cache and all that stuff. And if it's the TI, then I'd go with the TI. And I would make sure that the 3090 Ti outperforms the 3090 before I would buy the Ti. So, oh, look at this. This is really cool. So you can see this has obviously become, by taking and setting the quality up higher, what we've done is also, it seems as though it's changed the viscosity, where now this looks like a thinner solution. No, I only use my GPU because my CPU slows down my 3090. And also, when I'm rendering, I want to be able to go on YouTube and watch videos and go and do other things with my computer. I just use it like regular, check my email, and sometimes I'll if I have them both rendering, the GPU will slow to a crawl. I mean, my CPU, my computer will slow to a crawl. And every time I go to open a window, I have to sit and wait for it to open and all. So if I and it slows down the render. My CPU can't, it takes forever to do one iteration. And I have 12 cores with 24 threads. And so that, my GPU, I just turn the CPU completely off and just use the GPU, and I can render, like I said, 10,000 by 10,000 of some of the most complex scenes in the space of 2 hours, and have 2,000 iterations, sometimes 3, depending on if I have a lot of VDBs and stuff in the scene, and a ton of characters, and a gigantic 16K or higher HDR file, and all of that, and a gigantic scene environment, then it could take maybe 4 hours to render 2,000 iterations at 10,000 by 10,000 or a little higher. So 13,000 by 13,000, let's say that. That's about the highest I ever render anything. So I just use the GPU, and so for most of my scenes, my 3090 alone, it has enough CUDA cores that, within 2 to 4 hours, just about anything I want to render will render. The problem I run into with one 3090 is it only has, and you say, well, it only has 24 gigs of GPU memory, and I can occasionally go over that amount of I can make a scene that's bigger than 24 gigs. And of course, now you say, well, all that stuff doesn't get saved in the scene file, because when you load your project, it loads all that stuff from your Daz library. And when you save your file, it just saves pointers to that data in your library. So that's why a Daz project file, a DUF file, isn't like 24 gigs or whatever. It's not saving like Michael and all of these other things in the project. It's only saving pointers to all of that stuff. And when you load the file, it loads all of those things from your... So, yeah, you can have a 24, gigabyte project or more, it just loads it all up into the video RAM. And it also loads it into it loads it into your system RAM. So you have to have, when you have a 3090, you have to have at least like a 50 gigs of system RAM. So you have to have double the amount of video RAM. So with your 1080 Ti, you have 11 gigs of RAM, of GPU RAM. You have 11 gigs. So that means you have to have at least 24 gigs of system RAM, okay? In order to fully use that 1080 Ti. Okay? You have to have double the amount of video RAM in your system. So if you have 32 gigs of system RAM, you're covered. You got it covered. Because 11 and 11 would be 22, and so if you should have 32. You should probably have a minimum of 32. Because when you load your scene, it gets loaded in, like when you bring your project in, okay, this is only halfway done. And look at what this done. So this is changed by going into a higher resolution. It looks like it's changed the viscosity. This looks like a very thin kind of water, where before it looked like a soupy. So when you change the viscosity when you change the resolution, if you want it to remain thick like that, then you have to go in and change the viscosity so that, and I don't know if viscosity is the right word. But you have to change the thickness of your water so it's more like, not say honey, but more like something thick. Like a milkshake or something. So, yeah, so you have to have double the amount of RAM. And so you have to, and what I would do you have to buy a really nice brand of power supply, and you have to buy a big power supply for if you ever want to add another graphics card to your system. Let's see, Roswell. Hercules Roswell. Power supply. Okay, this is a really nice one right here. Okay. And they're out of stock. But, this is a modular one. This isn't like a little square one. This is actually longer than your regular power supply. But this is what you need to run two 3090s. Okay, and then you're going to be drawing 1,600 watts from your wall, which means that you have to, your electrical wiring in your house, like if you run the vacuum and you run the microwave at the same time and you have a power and you occasionally blow fuses in your house, then this won't work. If you run the vacuum and you keep a little space heater on and you also can run the microwave at the same time and you never blow fuses in your house where you have to go down and trip the breaker, then this will run, okay? And this is, you buy this and you might even be able to run two 4090s with this, okay? So this is what you got to power it all with, okay? So this is it. And these have these little modular things. So it comes with a whole bunch of modular things that you can use. You might have to look, but this is the idea. And Roswell, this is the brand right here one of the very best brands. There are other ones and all, but I really like this brand. Hello, Rich. Welcome. Welcome to the tutorial. We are in the middle of a Fluidose mesher render right now. So we are working with Fluidose today. So we're going to try and figure out how to really use this. And I'm wondering if this is going to go all the way up to the top. So it looks like there's more volume to this, but I think it's just because the resolution is, we set the resolution to very high. I should have probably just canceled this, but it's interesting now. This is an interesting study to see what happens, because this looks very different. I would have thought that it would have rendered the same, because the other one looked so different. It looked like kind of syrupy, and it was like very long tendrils, but thick ones. This is all like a noisy kind of. So by just setting the resolution high, it changed the way the water responds. So we got all these little flyaway particles and all, and this is all inside the domain. If you're looking to learn how to use Fluidose, this is our first. This is the first tutorial out of probably, I would say maybe 10 tutorials or more, learning to use Fluidose. So we're going to go into it in depth so that you will know how to use Fluidose by the time we're done. And so, okay, it just disappeared. It's still here. Yeah, it's still here. So this is what we're doing, is working with Fluidose. So you'd have to go back to the beginning, and we were just talking, Ed and I were talking about graphics cards and the different. I'm running two 3090 graphics cards, and he was commenting about how this is taking so long. This was a sphere that we dropped in this cube, and the sphere just made this huge mess of liquid. The center is probably hollow, but it like splatted the water all the way up the edges of the outside of this domain, it's called. So if you can get caught up on this, and by going back and watching the beginning of this tutorial, and it will show you how to work with Fluidose. Yes, I'm running two 3090s in SLI mode. They're not 3090 Ti's, but they're 3090s in SLI mode. And so I have a memory pool of 48 gigs of video RAM. And this Fluidose is only using one of my 3090s to simulate this, but they are in SLI mode, so I'm not sure if Fluidose is smart enough to use both of them because they're in SLI mode, because I picked one of them. I don't think it is. So because it's using the physics engine, it's not necessarily using the CUDA cores. So that's another thing also here that's going on with this. So, but this is something I have wanted to learn to use, is Fluidose. And when I read through like half of the manual, and you'll find the manual on your hard drive if you purchase Fluidose, and I read through half of the manual, and I realized that it is something I can understand. It's not something so way over my head that I can't understand it. Now, I don't think I would ever render any fluid at this super. We've got also high resolution. We got low and medium, and we also have very high resolution. So I picked the very high resolution thinking my graphics card would just, blaze right through it. And it's been 31 minutes. It's not as long. But once this is done, then I can just scrub right through the timeline. Okay, so this is just like dForce. It takes a while to run through the dForce simulation, and then you can scrub through your timeline. And so this is it's just setting up the simulation, and all this was a sphere that we turned into a fluid, and then we ran the simulation, and it dropped the sphere into the bottom of this square domain. And this is what's happened. It just went wild like this. It went really crazy wild. And when we did it the first time, it was set on something lower. I tend to think it may have been set on the low resolution, but it doesn't say which one of these is default. So, but it looked more like dropping a milkshake in here instead. And this looks like just like a very thin kind of water kind of thing. It's almost like an explosion. It's so what we learned from this is that, because I noticed that with the other one you could see the like little squares in the detail. It didn't look really fine. It looked kind of cube like digitized. And so I said, well, and then I remembered there was like a resolution, so I clicked on the Fluidos domain and I set it to the very high one, and then I hit simulate up in here. And so we're going through like a simulation, like a dForce simulation, and it changed like the viscosity of it. So when you set it to a higher, maybe it didn't necessarily change the viscosity, it changed the mesh around it so that it's able to, so it's really kind of like when you use the low resolution, it's the mesh on the outside is making it seem like the viscosity of your substance is thicker, when it's really not. It's just containing it within a lower resolution. So you can be using this low resolution and saying, why isn't my viscosity, why isn't this getting like waterier? Why isn't this getting thinner? And it's not because the viscosity isn't set on your substance. It's because the mesh around it the resolution is too low. So yes, it does. It's like it's still exploding. There's this kind of it's almost like what beer would do. And you see, we are working with physics. We're working with something like what a beer does when you shake up the can or a soda and you squirt the and it just comes splashing out like in this massive force. We are working with physics, and so this is going to create, and this on the outside of this looks just like beer too. It looks like that kind of foam that beer would do. So this is and the amount of particles that have flown off of this is just amazing. So all these little particles, and I'm kind of shocked by this result, because what that means is that this mesher, and the mesh is what goes around this. Yes, it is expanding within the domain. Now, I believe there's a way to, like with VDBs, is to tell it not that is to set the domain so that the domain doesn't constrain it. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but there's a way to possibly, because with VDBs you can have the domain cut the VDB off, so it's within the domain, and sometimes you can set it so that the VDB will go outside of the domain, and I'm not sure. I believe that's able. So you're able to create your own VDBs with Fluidose. And so I believe, yeah, and I know, I'm not absolutely positive, but we read in the manual that this technology that's being used here, see, this is what ours looked like. This is what it looked like on low resolution. That's what it looked like. And all we did was change the outside. And actually you can see the little steps. I think ours looked a little worse. A tiny bit worse. But up in here, I don't want to, let's see, maybe I can get that. There's something in the way here. All right, I think I've got to just come up here. And we'll go up in here and read this again about where. So this is it. Okay, this part here. So these are like open source things that this grid fluid simulation 3D and flip viscosity 3D, and then there's also pick flip liquid fluid simulation written in C++. So these guys here and gals and all, they created this set of parameters, that physical parameters. And then Alvin, who created this Daz program, he used their standards so the industry is using these different 3D viscosity and fluid and all of that stuff. The industry is using these to create all of these VDBs, and that's why they can be brought into Daz, because they're all based on the same kind of standard. And so they built these standards into Daz, but Daz would use them before because you could bring them in with Fluidose. And so that's what they're doing. They may be using some other program to manipulate them. They may not be using Fluidose, but they're using these same standard things, this grid fluid, flip viscosity, and this pick flip simulation. Programs are implementations of the pick flip liquid fluid simulation written in C++ on the Robert Bridson and Christopher Batty. The fluid simulation engine outputs the surface of the fluids as a sequence of triangle meshes, and that's what we're seeing. This is so amazing, because that's what we're seeing here, is that the triangle mesh is so tiny that look at how detailed that. We're almost done. Imagine how tiny these triangles are for it to make these little teeny tiny particles. So, and all we did was drop a sphere here, and it went bloop, and it did all, and that's what happened, just with regular gravity. So it just tells me that the viscosity must be really low to make these. It's almost a vapor. It's almost become a vapor. Yes, it is you're very right, and it scared me off. I bought this and it scared me off for a long time, and when I went, that's what we're doing. We are demystifying Fluidos. We're going in and we're going to this series. It's going to be live. I'm live, and you guys can talk to me. You guys can run through this. What we did was the first example. It's the first part of this. It tells you how to set up Fluidos, basic operation, and then it's the first example. So you've gotten in, Ed, Rich, on the very ground level. So all you have to do is go back and watch the beginning of this video, and you'll be able to run through this series with us and learn Fluidos. So this and the thing is if you own Fluidos and if you have not wanted to use it because if you went online and noticed that the tutorials, the guy who does it, he's a brilliant programmer. He just doesn't talk in them, and they're just he just clicks on things and there aren't that many, and they're very, very, very brief. But this manual that comes with it is the key to understanding it. And so we just went through the first example. This is what we had first, and then I went in and I said, well, let's try to play with some of this. Let's try to put, and then the next thing we'll do is we'll lower it back down into, I feel like I should save this simulation, but if I save it, I think I've got to put it in another folder so that it saves the simulation in another folder. So I'm not going to worry about this. Is not something I'm going to want to use again, but it would be nice to know as a teaching tool to say this is what happens when you take and just change the mess. It looks like it's settling down now. Okay. Well, that's a good place to start out with. The free stuff is a really good place to start out with. And yeah, it is. So it's a fun place. Daz is really nice to give those free products out to give you've got a free Genesis 9, you have Genesis 9 female and male that you can morph to whatever you want. Yeah, and they give you some clothing for your Genesis, and some of the clothing you can auto fit to the Genesis 9. So yeah, Daz is they're very nice to give those free things out. They give you a few environments, and they give you a few HDRI for your world. You can pretty much learn everything about Daz, just about everything, with those free tools that they give you. And when you're ready to purchase, what I would suggest is when you want to purchase them, wait until they're like on an 80% off sale. Okay? That's my advice. Wait until it's 80% off. Okay? And then buy. And so, yeah, because there's so much to buy and everything. And so, yeah, there are you can get a lot of other free models and everything, but the things that are made, like the figures and all, it all depends on what you like to collect. Usually an artist has a preference. They either like to collect the females or the male models, okay? So you decide which one you want, and you're going to want a bunch of them, Every time I buy one, I just say, oh, yes, now I've got so-and-so and another. So this is saying it's 100%. So you decide which models which sex models you really like to work with, because that's kind of what happens. And most Daz artists go with the females. I prefer working with the males, but that's a matter of choice. So the majority of Daz people go with the females. So you just and you blend their faces in together. You make your own. You morph them together so that you have you can create a face that's never been before, that nobody's ever seen before. So, but just wait. When you go to buy, sometimes I'll say, oh gosh, I need to have like a hammock. I want to have a hammock in this scene. So I'll go on Daz and it's like not on sale. And so occasionally I'll go in and buy something I'll go in and buy like a hammock at, yes, well, that's good advice, Ed, is to buy the highest quality characters. I would say, because Genesis 9 right now is so new, and because Rich is new, that I would invest in the Genesis 8 and 8.1 characters. I wouldn't go big into Genesis 9 yet, because it all depends on what kind of graphics card you have and everything. But I would go with the Genesis 8 and 8.1 figures and the clothing that goes with them. And like I said, I wouldn't buy them unless they're on an 80% off sale. Period. Because there's a lot of stuff to buy, okay? And Daz is so good about sales. So you can get these. Okay, so I've got to wait until this is done, but it's done. This is done. Okay, there it is. So now so this is it. So it's pretty easy to show this. What is it doing? Okay. Okay, just to reconstruct it, it's got to go through some kind of, I've never seen anything like this, but yeah, this is it's so high resolution that it's like Iray, okay, that Iray has to, but this is pretty amazing. I think what I should do is, no, there's no way to do it without changing the, so I'm never going to use this for anything, okay? So, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back and I'm going to click on the Fluidos domain again. Okay, Rich, you have a 3080. Okay, so then do you know how much video RAM does a 3080 have? Does that have, that has 24 gigs. It's just not SLI. Yeah, that has 24 gigs. So you're set. You're ready to start purchasing, okay? So just pick the, pick the things you want, but just wait until they're on an 80% off sale, okay? And start buying. I would start with hair. Oh, it has 12? It only has 12? Okay. So that's not much more than what Ed's working with. You can still make a ton of really awesome scenes with 12 gigs. For years, I did a lot of really, really, really cool stuff with with 11 gigs with the 3090 with the 1080 Ti, and you know, and with I think it had like 1,000 or 2,000 CUDA cores. Yeah. Okay. So the 30. Yes, that's what I knew. Something was the same as the 3090. Yeah. So it's going to render really, really fast, but it's only going to render. But you're going to have to keep your scenes kind of a little bit modest, which isn't that bad. And you can get by taking your backgrounds and turning them into backdrops and stuff like that. You can do all kinds of tricks to make it fit in that 12 gig thing. And you like your ultra scenery, you just always make sure that you use the camera view, so you relegate the objects to only populating in your camera view and things like that. And you'll learn how to cheat the system to fit your scene, to make complex scenes with less geometry. And canvases are a big way to do it as well. So now I'm going to switch this to the low resolution. Okay, just double click that again to make sure. And now we're going to render this again and see if it's like really fast. Now, edit. This should render really quick. Yeah, oh, see? Now look at that. See, this is, so... Okay, so obviously it's not, so let's try the medium now. Switch it to make sure we got medium. Okay, edit. I think it was on medium. We'll see. So it's really strange how it looks like it's the resolution looks like it's changing. This is the what do you call it? This is the default right here. This is what I saw when we did the we saw a few little break-off particles, yeah, and all. Okay, so that's our, so the medium is, that's our answer. Medium is our default. Okay, and I'm not going to do high. Now I think what we're going to do is try to put a surface on this. We're going to try to put it on the mesher. Oh, click on the mesher, presets, shaders. Let's see, shaders, materials, default, shaders, and let's go to glass, or would be water. Okay, water. Water. Where are shaders? Okay. Somewhere in here is we're going to find some water shaders. Let's try this. Ocean. That doesn't look like it worked, but let's go here to Iray. No, that doesn't look like it worked. Let's try that. Fluidose mesher. Okay, let's do this. And we're in Iray, and it doesn't look like it's working. How do you put to change the shader? Maybe that's okay. And that's an MDL shader. Oh, it worked. That one didn't, but look at what we've got now. So we put it on the mesher. Wow! Look at this. Now I'm going to try doing something. I'm going to take this sphere, and we're going to put object, we're going to put geometry, we're going to put sub D on it, and then we're going to rerun our fluid simulation and see if see, now it looks like the sphere isn't ribbed like it was. Yeah, yeah, $600 is a really good price for a 3090, especially the fact that his 3090 was, it wasn't used for Bitcoin, and it was yeah, so I hear you on that. It was just for gaming, and probably he only used it so much. And so look at this. Let's get up close here and see. This is really, really nice. Now, this is the kind of thing where I could imagine putting our putting a figure standing in here, like Venus on the half shell or something, and this is a little scene here. And so let's go to our render settings. General, let's take this down to 2000. And let's render this. So you're going to get to see what, yeah, see, it's already up to, like, look at this render. It's just about to hit 1,000 iterations. But okay, that's enough. So look at this now. Look at what we have here. It all depends. I've heard two schools where they just burn the heck out of them and then they try to sell them, and they are spent. Okay, they are just absolutely fried. And then I've heard other people say that that crypto miners are very careful with them, and the blah, 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 blah. Okay? But I've seen repair people work on graphics cards that have been used in crypto mining, and the chips are just melted right into the top of them, and they have to scrape them off with like little what are those little kits with the little grinders and stuff, bezel tools and stuff. So it all depends. I think, and then you have some gamers who don't know that they have to turn the fan up high when they have their graphics card under load, and so they sit there playing the game for like 12 hours straight. Which I've played a game. I've streamed live on YouTube for like 12 hours straight before. But you have to turn your fan up on high so that your graphics card doesn't go above, like, you don't want it going above 80 degrees. And so that's so that can happen. So this is really nice. This is nice. Yeah, well, it's because it's got that cube look. But this, yeah, it does look like glass. That has to do also with the shader that I chose. Okay? So but look, we have a success here. So this is really nice. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and bring my mirror window up here a little bit. And let's go into our environment and pick a backdrop. Let's go and pick what happens when we go black. Now let's render this with a black. Let's go with blue instead, like a dark blue. A little darker than that. When you're buying something used, what I would suggest is to buy it from Amazon, okay? Buy your 3090 eventually, okay? And I would buy the 3090 from Amazon, and I would buy it refurbished, okay? Refurbished isn't used, okay? Refurbished means that it has been... somebody bought it and then they found out it wouldn't work in their computer, so they sent it back. And so they just put it back in the box and try to put all the stuff back together and sell it again. And you should be able to get a 3090 refurbished eventually. So I'm not sure exactly what that would entail, but I would look into that. So... let's see how big our character is. Let's bring in. I'm the kind of artist person. I can't just work on and create a cube and say, okay, there it is, and I've got to put somebody in it. I've got to make a scene out of it somehow. I'm just like that. There's a part of me that's just an undying artist that has to turn everything into art. So we're going to put, I'll go into my, in order to make, okay, two 3090s, or one 4090. Considering the 4090 works at, I think when you buy technology, you should buy into the future. I mean, I don't know how much money you have to spend, but you're going to, like I was telling Ed, you're going to have to get, possibly like a 5X PCI Express. If a 4090 will work with 4X, but why would you want to run a 4090 on a 4X? So it means buying another motherboard. Okay, it means buying, what is it, the 5 something RAM, it takes a higher, so you have to rebuy your RAM. Then you have to buy one of these Intel chips. You'd want to buy one of these Intel chips that has the dual functions, and so you're buying everything brand new. You have to buy it all, and then you have to have and in order to run two 4090s, you're going to probably want to have like 128 gigs of RAM, system RAM, and then you're going to also need at least 1,600 power supply for it. So you're looking about for your computer alone, and that's probably not even counting the 4090. You're looking at probably $3,000 to $4,000 for your computer. Okay, and you're going to want to buy a computer that you could put, if you really want to do 3D art, you're going to want to buy a computer that's going to have 2 slots so you can buy another 4090 down the road and throw it in there. You're not going to want to buy a power supply that you're going to have to go back and rebuy. You're not going to want to go back and buy like only 64 gigs of RAM when you're going to have to buy another 64 gigs. When you get another 4090, you're going to want another 4090 in there. So you figure if you're not willing to go $5,000, $6,000 for this computer, which I am. You know, I'm willing to go that because I bought the two 3090s and the 4090 wasn't out yet. So, you know, but I'm that kind of person that went for it, okay? And so so the thing is that if you're not, so it's you say, am I willing to go $6,000 on all of this? And if the answer is yes, then go with the 4090s. Or I would go with, you know, 4090 or 4090 Ti, depending on which one is the fastest. And then from there, plan on buy a power supply that will work with them, buy enough RAM that will work 2 of them, and just don't buy the other 4090 until like a year from now when you got enough money to yeah. You're talking at probably $4,000 for the computer. So you kind of have to go with the 3090 if you're not planning on spending that much. And even with the 3090, you've got to have you have to have the lanes, okay? In order to have the lanes, you have to have like an i9, or you have to have a Threadripper, which is like the 30 core AMD, because those are the only ones with like 44 lanes with 16x, you know. So even a 3090 is going to represent possibly, you know, so yeah, but just switching out your 3080 for a 3090 is probably worth it. So, I mean, it's definitely worth it if you're thinking of going heavy into 3D modeling. Okay? If you really love what you're seeing here and you love working, I mean, I have $10,000 worth of models. Look at these models that I own. These are just the male. I have a bunch of females mixed in, but mostly males. I own every male model, just about every male model that Daz sells. Okay, we're looking at $10,000 worth of models. Okay, so on top of purchasing the, and of course, you have to know them intimately. You have to know the shape of their face and the way they look. And so you can say, well, I want a little bit of a mixture. You know who you want to mix together and their looks before you even start, you know? So you have to know their faces, and you have to know them like really, really well, and say, I'd like to have this be a mixture of this guy and that guy. Like this guy, I know he's got this red complexion, okay? He's got this little red thing to his complexion, okay? And I know that he's like really meaty. Yeah, I have 10,000 in Daz Payware, and I live on a fixed income, so you know, I don't have any other hobbies. This is it. I work on music. So I use the same computer to make my music that I do with my Daz modeling and stuff. So now this guy, Alistair, okay, I'm going to, I think I'm going to bring in a Genesis 9 guy that I got dressed already. So save files, somebody that I have dressed. So where's my Genesis 9 guy? Where is he? That's the Victoria 9. Oh, here it is. Michael 9 Skin. So let's bring him in. Yeah, that's not a bad, you know, thing is to because I have found, Ed, that with what I do with Daz, that the 3090 is enough for me. It really is enough to for what I want to do. Like, because a 230/90s gives me the ability to. Okay, so I'm wondering. Okay, where do I want this? So I think I want this up as high, like that 230/90s. Okay, let's say that's about there. Now I'm not sure how to. I think I have to move this whole domain thing. I'm not sure altogether, so we might as well put the Fluidose mesher, the sphere, and the domain. Let's put them all in one group. So click on this and say water. And then I can scale this, I think. Water, let's go to water. Yeah. And I can move it back. Let's go to this. What's nice about this is that since it has this mesh on it, you can move it around. Now, it didn't scale the domain, so that's really strange. The domain, I guess it doesn't matter because it's already rendered now. So so this is Genesis 9 right here, this guy. Let's bring the timeline, get rid of the timeline down, give ourselves a little bit more room here. And give him some hair. Well, let's put a wardrobe on him. Some kind of wardrobe here. We're going to go to wardrobe. And I only have so many Genesis 9 things. Casual business outfit. Okay, let's try this coat outfit thing. And then we have to find a material thing, some materials for it. All right, what is up with his foot? I think his foot's sticking through the front here. No, it's that hole there. Okay. Just a strange little anomaly. Let's put a pose on him. Pose. I don't know what kind of pose he would go with here, but we can put any kind of pose here as long as we use this special plugin. Okay, poses by function standing. Standing, okay. We don't need a Genesis 9 pose. We can use Genesis 3 or Genesis 8 as long as I use this tool. Genesis 9 does have a better quality than 8, but it's much harder to work with because the morphs don't work with Genesis 9. So I generally, when I like right now, I'm kind of just playing around, and I'm using Genesis 9 because they do have nice skin and all, but really the Genesis 8.1 is much better to work with. I don't have to sit and wait for the clothes to auto fit. I think Genesis 9 has got probably going to take a year or maybe even 2 years before there's enough like toys to go with it, you know? So it's I'm buying into the Genesis 9 to support it, okay? But I'm not buying heavily, you know? I'm buying only things that I really absolutely have to have. And so if the hair doesn't look perfect, I'm not buying it. I mean perfect, you know. If the clothes aren't really something that I think I'm really going to use, I'm not buying it. So I'm only partially buying. I'm going to wait until those prices go down on these new things and buy them later, like at an 80% off sale. And so I'm, for the most part, just using Genesis 8 and Genesis 8.1. So I bought Michael things that I just absolutely have because I like to play. But no, it's not that noticeable, okay? It's not that incredibly noticeable because most of the time your figures, once if they're going to be right in your face, yeah, then. But I don't do portraits. I don't have my camera this right up in their face. They're back about this far, and once they're back about this far, 8K skin texture just doesn't really make any difference. Okay, so I find that what they're making for Genesis 9, like the clothing and the artwork that's going into it, is really, they're really trying to do it right through this. But then there's some products that come out that it's like, what the heck is this? You know, so they're letting things slip in now that are just kind of terrible, but they're also doing certain things like really nicely. So I think they're kind of a little scattered the way it's working right now. So let's put him in a pose now. A pose by function. Let's get standing. A standing pose. And this might work. No. It's not quite what I thought. Now, let's just get a male kind of pose. This works. Where's the one with his arms? All right. Now what you do is you select that, then you go to Favorites, and you go to Pose Converter. And there it is. Close. Now I have to go in and mess with the pose a little bit. Let's take his thumb out. All right. Twist this a little bit. Twist that back maybe. Twist. This, like this. Twist this. Oh, twist this. And bring that out. Bend. Okay, I have to take this right here. Where is it? Fluidos. Let's turn that so we can't click that. Okay. This. Bend this out. Okay. Now let's back up a little bit. All right, finding, okay, I got to run, seeing the rest of the video later. Thank you, my friend Rex. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Ed. You take care. Thank you for hanging out. I'm not going to be too much longer, okay? I have to turn off his, he's got shorts on. They're coming through his things. So you take care. Merry Christmas, buddy. Thank you for hanging out. Enjoy Fluidose. I hope this gives you a good beginning to it. And so I will, you'll see some more Fluidose videos coming out. I hope you like me kind of doing this and going. I think you do. So you take care. I will see you soon. Bye-bye. Goodbye. Yes. Hi, hello, Angus. I hope you're going to be here for a little bit longer. Well, it is 12:30. So, yeah, so we've got something going on. We have the Ice King here, Ice Cube guy, Mr. Ice. Yeah. So I don't know what we're going to call this, but let's save this. Our Fluidose Iceman. And so now let's put some hair on him. And what did Rick say? Oh, Rick's off too. Almost midnight for me. I got to work in the morning. All right. No, I'm going to be here for a little while. Just a little while longer. We're going to put some hair on this guy. And this is going to be our first Fluidose test. I'm only going to be here maybe about 15, 20 minutes longer, Angus. So thank you very much, Rich. Please like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. And so you'll get a notification when I come back on here. It's awesome. It's awesome to have you and Ed and Angus here. You guys are, seem to enjoy this Daz world. And there's lots of stuff we can talk about. So come back. Please come back and hang around the channel. All right? Okay. Bye-bye. Have a good night. So, Angus, it's you and me. We're gonna go find some hair for our Genesis 9 guy here. And let's see what we got here for hair. How about a Santa hair and beard? No, I don't think that would work. Maybe we'll try this hair. Oh, we got to get rid of his underwear. He's got underwear on under these shorts, the Sunny Road shorts. We can get rid of them now. And maybe we'll try this hair and see what it looks like. That's a touchy subject. Which one, the hair? Let's see what we got. Let's try this flip hair. Maybe he'll look good with flip hair for Genesis 9. I think this will work. Let's go with a darker hair. Brown. I don't know if that'll work. I think I've got to... No, I got to click on the hair itself. Flip hair. Montreal Flip Hair. There we go. Let's put a camera in the scene. Copy active view. And instead of this that's a touchy subject. Yes, the hair. Some people like their hair a certain way. Let's put some kind of environment in here. Let's put a snowy environment or something. So Control Alternate minus. Let's click this. All right, let's find a snowy. Okay. Vignette add-on. Let's merge into the scene this. Okay. Let's see what this looks like. Oh. Fall snow, huh? I don't think this is going to work. What did I just delete? Cameras. What's this? Land. Okay, landmass. Let's get rid of that. He's still here. Okay, let's see about a different one. Something that's... Oh, maybe this will work. Studio building. Something interior. That's an interior world. Maybe it'll come with lights. Yeah. Everybody is special in their own way, Angus. We all love you the way you are. With every single hair, with what hair you have, every hair on your head is precious. So, let's see what this looks like in... All right, let's see what this looks like in Iray. He just happens to be standing in a cube of ice. So there we go. This kind of works. So let's render this and see what he looks like. This is kind of coming together. So, yeah, I think I'm going to try to like end this here. So this is going to be our first So this is Genesis 9 with Michael's 4K skin on him. Okay, and so I'm seeing a kind of problem here. I don't like the way his arms are hanging. And also, I'm just going to fix that. Looks like his fingers are going right through his jacket, which they are. So if I just put him in a different pose where he's hanging his arms by his side, okay? Cancel this, yes. So this is Genesis 9, and this is the Genesis 9 figure turned into a male, okay? Because Genesis 9 isn't male and female, it's both, okay? Well, it's not male or female, where it's both, where you can morph it into a female or a male. So we're going to just click on this Genesis 9 figure, go back into our poses, and find a better pose that I don't have to deal with. Okay, figures, poses, where's the poses, okay? By function, standing again. Let's turn this off again. And we can use any pose here. Default. We're going to go back to poses. I don't know how many times I have to go through this. It doesn't remember what you're doing. Standing. Okay. Let's see. Standing. By function. Okay, here we go. We are looking. We got to find either a Genesis 8 or a Genesis 3. Blue steel poses. Okay, I think these might work. Okay, this one might work. So we've got to remember, don't use the pose. Go to the converter. And this should pose him. There we go. No, that doesn't work. I'd have to do his dForce, his close in dForce, run it through a simulation. Cancel. I don't like that. He's twisted too much. All right, let's try this one. He's kind of twisted here too, but Aussie pose. Okay, remember to do this. Don't just click on it. Let's see what we got. It looks like he's kind of responding to this. Let's cancel. Let's try it some different ones here. Leaning against the wall. He's not going to have a wall, but let's see what one of these just might do something really cool with him. This scene is incredibly what I would call... See, I think that kind of works. Maybe, okay, let's close this. What if we turn him a little bit like this? No, I don't care for that. Edit, undo. What we could do is, oh, redo, edit. I want the pose. I didn't think it would. I thought it would undo my camera move. Okay, 9. What if we do this, okay, like that. Then we take Genesis 9 and we rotate him. Y rotate like this. A little bit. And then we take the building and we see what happens when we rotate that. Y. And then we take and add some fog. VDB. Because I can. Materials, props. See what we've got here. Let's try something like this. Where is it? Smoke. Okay, I think we got to do this from the top. Okay, top. All right, we got some kind of ceiling. Dresh, now he's not in the center of the cube as well, so let's move him over this way, a little bit this way. Now let's go back to our camera. Let's see what this looks like. 0. We want a little bit of fog around the ice. Smoke. Smoke. There we go. All right. Save this. And then we see what our render looks like. So this is our first Fluidose study. We can call this a study. This is a study in Fluidose. In variation, it's like music, okay? But in cubes, in variations, like Bach and Mozart, and they take and find a variation. And this is our variation in, okay, in looks like his pant leg is coming through here. I'm wondering what will happen if I do a dForce simulation. Cancel this. We want this to hang right on him. It's not hanging right. So what happens if we go here to simulation settings, initialization, start bones, save this. Let's simulate and see if, hopefully it doesn't try to resimulate the water. No, it's not, because the water is a totally different kind of thing. So luckily that mechanism. So we should, it says stabilizing simulation, and then we should start see this clothing draping off of him. See, I don't like, I would think this would kind of hang differently around his leg. And I think that I saw part of his skin coming through his pants. Hopefully it'll fix that. And this should hang differently in the back. It just isn't hanging right at all on him. None of this big clump here. This is why you sometimes start him in his original pose and then you have him gradually move into this pose. So it's stabilizing it, and then it should run it through the simulation. He's got a lot of clothing on, and it's all got to simulate together. His shirt and his hair is going to possibly even simulate. His hair may be may also be. Okay, now we should see the simulation starting pretty soon. In a moment. I don't think it just ran through the simulation. Probably his clothing isn't simulated. Now I'm not liking the pose. All right, so let's go back. We got some nice. What happened to? Oh, we have to. We don't see. You won't see the smoke unless we're in. It doesn't show up unless it's. I think in the render. I'm not sure in Iray. I'm not seeing it here, but it's supposed to be here. All right, so. Let's go back to poses. Standing. I'm not too sure I like this pose. It's like. This is kind of like an absurd. It's like the theater of the absurd. Abstract. It's like a Picasso kind of thing. It's just weird. But it's okay. It's just bizarre. So let's see what we've got. Standing. Let's get rid of VDB. We're in poses. Let's see what we got for poses. Let's see if we can find something else. Da 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 da. Let's try this one. I don't know if Diego will work. That works, I think. Close. We can spin him around now. Y rotate. Okay, it's better than it was. Let's give him some kind of facial hair, just to kind of give him a little more detail on his face. Hair, face, Genesis 9. Why does it keep losing my place like this? It's just like, Daz, why does it have to keep redoing this stuff? Face. Let's see. We got a beard here. There's two of them, and it doesn't say which one's for what. All right, let's give him the Antonio beard. Okay, that's obviously the mustache. No, that's a beard. Materials. Let's go for brown. Let's have Antonio beard. A little too dark. Okay, let's go to perspective view and let's see if we can get a little closer. He looks good now. Natural, relaxed, kind of. It's like, hey, I'm in an ice cube and I don't mind. I'm all cool with it, you know? It's like, it's okay. It's okay. Where's the beard? Okay, I'm going to see if I can lighten that beard up a little bit. Black hair, where's the beard? Brown, let's go with brown. Is there a light brown? I don't really care for this beard. Okay, we're going to find something else. Okay, face, we'll turn this off. We will put a Genesis 8 beard on him. Now, okay, I'm going to select face and then it's going to boot me out again. Hopefully not. Here we go, face. How about this one? No, it's too much like Jesus. Let's see. This one might work. See what else we got here. I haven't tried this beard on him on Genesis 9 yet. Let's try this one. Okay, and we got to tell it it's Genesis 8. Accept. See if it works. That looks better. I can already tell it's better looking. It's just working better. Okay, but I don't know that the color is right. It's two materials. Gray, red, brown. Let's try brown. Maybe it's brown. Okay, well, we got to go into surfaces then. Editor, beard. We got to go a little bit darker. Root highlight. Tips. Let's go a little darker than that. And the tips here. And tip highlight. Okay, I guess that's good. Now his eyebrows aren't really standing out very well. So let's go with the eyebrow card. 6. Let's get rid of them. And go to here. Where's the hair, face? How do we get the figures? Genesis 9 starter essential, hair, props was anatomy. Okay, anatomy. Anatomy, here we go. Let's try this one. Materials. Eyebrow. Where's the fiber style? Well, why didn't that work? Base color. Glossy color. Primary. Secondary. Okay, let's go now to see with the Genesis 8 figure, I have tons more hair to work with. I have like his face shape, and it's like none of these things I feel like working with because I don't have my morphs. So I'm stuck. I'm stuck with his face kind of for the most part. I go into it and it's just a mess trying to change his face. I can't morph him to other faces that I find a little bit more what I'm looking for. It's just so, it's going to take a year before they come out with about 20 or 30 faces like I have with Genesis 8. So that's the way it is right now. So, and I'll probably buy them, but it's going to be a little bit here and a little bit there. And I'm just not really right now thrilled with his character. Okay, edit, undo. Okay, orbit camera. It's going to undo the orbit. I'm going to orbit him. I'm getting close to done here with this, so because I'm only going to do so much here. And Genesis 9. I had somebody ask, I think it was really nice, Ed, who told me that, asked me if when I was coming back for another tutorial. So thank you, Ed. I didn't get a chance to thank you for leaving that note, but it was nice to have you come in and leave a comment on one of the videos saying, when are you coming back? And I miss having your tutorials. So thank you very, very, very much. So, all right. I still don't think he's looking at the camera. So we're going to twist him a little bit more. Let's see about that. At least he's dressed warm. Kinda, sorta. Oh, now I like him. Now I like his face. There's something about the curve, the shape of his. Right now, what they're putting out for Genesis 9 is very nice, high quality stuff. So So there, that's one thing that I have to say is that they're really trying to do this stuff right. So we're going to save this. And I wonder if he's like too far down on the ground. I think I got to lift him up a little more. So let's go 9. Y translate. He's just, it's like he's standing down deep in the, if it's glass, his feet are like encased in it. So is he wearing sneakers with this? Well, it's a casual suit. So this works. Yeah, I like him now. I like his features. He has Michael's 4K skin. But what I did was I lightened it. Okay, I lightened his skin. So, all right, so we're going to try to hit a render and see what, a quick render and see what this looks like. I think I'm gonna title this gender fluid. So just one of those words. So yeah, this is working. Looks like his feet are not quite here, so something's up with that. So I gotta fix that. Okay, close this foot, bend it. Shoes. He's not supposed to click his shoes. It's supposed to click his foot. Right foot. Yeah, bend. Okay, let's go here with his perspective view. Let's go down here. 9. All right, there we go. Something's not right here. Side to side. That's not that one. It's this one. Twist. And let's do this one. Bend. Okay, this looks like it's twisted too much. Let's go back to the camera view now. Save this. Gender fluid. So here we go. There are us hairless varieties, mind you. Yeah, I wonder if, yeah, you're still here. Angus, thank you for hanging in so long. Thank you. How kind of you to keep me company, buddy. Very nice. Yeah. Yeah, he's looking at the camera. Oh, something's still wrong with his foot. It's not standing on the... Have to be that darn little hole there to show that his feet aren't connecting with the... if I lower him a little bit. Yes. Why? Now let's try that. Save. Just looks like he's floating floating in the air with his feet. People don't normally do that. Okay, it's got to go down a little more. He's got to go down a little more. Still looks like he's floating. Save it. All right. I have to look and see what my VDB looks like. Do we have any fog in the scene? Does it look foggy around the cube? There's supposed to be a fog here. Yeah, there's a fog, so everything's working right. The cube looks like it's sitting well enough on the ground. Now his feet look like he's standing, so it's okay. So it looks like it's a little bit cropped off to the left. What happens? Yes. What happens if I twist it a little bit? Foot this way. Save. Okay, back Control R is for render. Render. Why is my tablet not working anymore? Did it just fry on me or what? Just like stopped working. I did have it on for like 5 days or a week. Steady. I wonder if I unplugged it in the other room. I bet I did. Okay, well, I'll look at that later. I guess his foot's okay. I'm going to lower him just a little bit. Still doesn't look right. Something doesn't look right there. Perspective. Now it's sitting in the... Okay, so we'll just take Genesis 9 and move him down a little more. I think it's because the back isn't down. Bend. Okay. Genesis 9. There we go. Now back to the camera. Save it. These little details, when I render this at like 10,000 by 10,000, that's going to show up like a sore thumb. Yeah, it will. So let's see what we've got here. All right, we are almost done this scene. Now I would like to have put another person in with him, but I'm not going to deal with that right now. Someday I might put another person, and they're just they're warming each other up in a very cold world. So, but for now, it's okay. Now it looks like his foot is like reflecting and doing something weird there, but it doesn't look like he's floating. So that's all that matters to me, okay, is that it looks weird, but I don't think there's anything I can do to change that. Now what I could do is spin this ice around, and maybe it wouldn't have that hole there. I could do that. Let's see what happens when I spin the ice around. Let's take this right here. Where is it? Water. That's not it. It is water right there, right? Yeah, that's it. And I go Y, rotate. See, this works because that one doesn't have a hole. Let's do it like this. Okay, save this. Then his legs don't look like one of them is showing, and this actually looks kind of cooler. Maybe. I don't know. I've never done this before. It's all new. What do we got? What do we got? Let's see what this looks like now. Okay, see, that looks right now. It doesn't look like one foot is showing and doing. They're both blowing up together, which is what they're supposed to do. And I like the way this is coming out in here, and this looks a little more sculpted. So this works. Very cool. Boy, my surprise when that turned into glass, it was like, wow. I mean, into water or glass, whatever this is, it was like, wow, wow. Yeah, so, all right. So what we're going to do now, he seems to be very guy. It's like, let's put a necklace on him, but I'm not going to do this right now. I'm just going to render this. This is, cancel this render, but a gold chain, a gold necklace would be nice, you know, just a little added touch. And so, but we're gonna call it here. So let's set up our render settings. And so I'm gonna be done in about maybe 5 minutes, I think. Hopefully, we're gonna go to we're gonna just render this at 1,000, 10,000. By 5, 625, I guess. 16 by 9 is good. Now we're going to go into our progressive render, maximum samples, maximum time, and turn off render quality. We turn off the render quality so it doesn't try to set a render quality. It just says, just keep rendering and rendering and rendering until I stop it, okay? If I set render quality, then it'll say, well, how much quality do you want? But if I turn off render quality, then I decide. So if I set the render quality and say, well, render it to this quality, and I look at it when it gets to that quality and it's not enough and it doesn't look right, it's not rendered enough, well, it'll stop automatically anyway. But if I turn off render quality, it'll just keep rendering and rendering and rendering, and then I can look and say, yeah, it's done, and just stop it there. So that's why I always turn off render quality, so I'm the one who stops the render, okay? So we're going to save this, and this is it. So we're going to just click render, and it's going to render very, 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 very large. And then that's it. So this is going to render really large, okay? So, but this will be good. This is what we want. Now I'm going to be able to tell, like, oh my gosh, his eyebrows are a totally different color than his hair and all that stuff, but I'm just going to leave this because this isn't an actual scene. It isn't something that I'm going to try. It's a study. So I just want something. I just don't want a cube. All right. I want something more interesting than just a cube. So here we go. Look at the detail we're going to have in this, though. This is going to start rendering and rendering and rendering. Look, you can see the detail in his clothing, and oh, this is very, very nice. So his eyes look okay. His hair looks okay. He looks okay. So it's fine. We're not going to see him this close up in the final. It's going to be like what I just showed you. It's going to be 2000 for the gallery. When I'm going to put this on the Daz gallery so people can say, oh, he's working with Fluidos now. So yeah. And I will probably put a link to this tutorial so people can start following along and learn how to use Fluidos with us. Or, you know, now that you've seen how I've kind of am using the manual, you can go ahead and do the lessons yourself now. So, but I'm going to follow through and continue with them. So this is going to take, we're up to 24. It's going to need to go to about 2,000 iterations before this glass looks just as glass, water, whatever it is, looks like as pristine, ice, I don't know, looks as pristine as it possibly can. And it might actually be finished at around 1,000, but I'll let it go to 2,000. So that's going to do it for me. Thank you very, very much for watching. Say goodbye, Sigmund. Bye. Oh, that was nice. Oh, yes. And Hector, say bye. Bye. Oh, that was nice, Hector. Yes. So that is it. We are going to play out with some polka. This is going to do it for me. Thank you very much. We got some polka playing. Da 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 da. Da. Sigmund's going to dance a little bit. Da 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 da. All right, so take care. Angus, have a good night. And I will see you again in the next Daz 3D TV tutorial. So we are Daz 3D TV. Yes, we're gonna have some polka tonight. Polka time. So Angus, all the best to you. You have a lovely, lovely night, lovely sleep, and I will chat with you in the morning. I have a tutorial. I have a premiere tomorrow at 9:45 on the Flock of Angels channel. So you take care. Good night, good night, good night. Bye-bye.